Hey guys, sitting down here. This is going to be my chapter review to One Piece 979 Family Problem. I haven't released anything in a long while due to the, I think it was Golden Week in Japan. So there's been no My Hero, there's been no One Piece, and I don't think we've released anything for One Punch Man as well. So let's get right down to it. This chapter had quite a few things going on, even though I'd say some of the, it was a good chapter, don't get me wrong, but some of the pages I was just like, okay, let's move the story forward. Let's not just drag this out a little bit. So the cover page, people have been having issues with this. The cover page is the shores of Dressrosa, where we see the Tontata tribe chance upon a ship that from obviously from Whole Cake Island, but the ship has a relatively large man on it. The man is Pound. So people probably got issues with that. Pound not being dead. Yeah, it's a very Oda-esque kind of thing. It wouldn't really make too much of a difference that whether Pound was alive or not. I feel like it kind of reduces some of the impact he had, but the reality is, the bottom line is, I don't really give a shit about Pound. I think this is going to be more for the kind of story of Chiffon has now found Lola, and then Beige, and they're all in Dressrosa, I think, and Pound just so happens to have washed up at Dressrosa. It's going to be one of those things. I don't really care too much about it. So going straight into the first scene, and there were about 3-4 different scenes in this chapter, and the first scene mainly focused on giving us that kind of narrative again. Orochi has become dangerously complacent. He's been receiving reports from Kanjuro, so he knew everything about the Akazaya 9. His plan was perfect. He did everything to seal off the samurai's retribution. So he isn't afraid anymore. He isn't tormented by the ghosts of the Akazaya 9, of the Kozuki clan. He doesn't care for any of that. He's just like, yeah, I've succeeded. I'm done. But obviously we know that the raid is going to continue. Kinemon leads the eastern forces, so he's circling around the skull of Onigashima towards the right, towards the east. We have Denjiro and his boys leading like the 5,000 strong army around the left side of the skull, so the left side of Onigashima, so that's towards the west, even though it says he leads the southern forces. And then we have... Actually, that's a really weird translation now I think about it. So Kinemon is he's referred to as the East Forces. So the opposing side should be Denjiro, who's the Western Forces, but they're called the South Force for some reason. I don't know why. Considering they both started from the same point, they could both be technically referred to as the South Force. I don't know. Anyway, Law is carrying the rest of the Akazaya samurais. That's Ashura Doji. You see Raizo. You see Kawamatsu, you see Inuarashi and all those guys. He's carrying them through his submarine around the eastern side of Onigashima undetected. So they're all going to converge on one point, which is Kaido's castle at the back of Onigashima. Kanjuro is already at the... So this is kind of like a sub-scene. He's already made his way to the castle. But I thought this was actually a really important detail. And a detail I liked because Oda kind of reminded me that Kanjuro isn't really aware too much of what's the kind of layout of the castle. So he's there for the first time. He's like, actually, I've never been in these tunnels. I don't know where the hell I'm going. And I was like, actually, that's a really good point. He shouldn't know where he's going. So he's there with Momonosuke. Momonosuke has observed him just murder 2 of the castle guards. But what Momonosuke is eyeing up at the moment is this knife that's on the ground. So I think that he's looking at that thinking, maybe I can use this to escape. Maybe I can cut my kind of cuffs. He's got his hands are tied together. So I think he's going to be doing something along those lines, but I'm not sure. Anyway, we're just told once again the enemy have no idea that they're about to get clapped by a 5,000 strong army. We then go back to the Straw Hats, who are pretty much just chilling. I mean, everyone else is left, but the Straw Hats are still outside the skull of Onigashima. They're still in that port. And here we really get not too much happening. A little bit of an explanation as to where Luffy and Zoro have vanished to, but essentially it's just Frankie showing us the Black Rhino. Chopper's in the Brachio tank. We have Jinbei, who's impressed by both of those kind of mechas. But nothing really happens here. Jinbei tells us, oh, by the way, Luffy's gone after Eustace Kid and his crew because they ran straight towards the front door, and he was like, oh, I can't let them ruin Kinemon's plan, so I'm gonna go and bring them back. Obviously that's not the best idea, because Luffy's just gonna go and join them. Zoro's then like, oh, Luffy's going to make things worse. I'm going to go find him and bring him back. And we know that Zoro ain't going to bring nobody back. Zoro is either going to get involved with the fight or he's going to get lost. And they're all bartering on the fact that he's going to get lost. I love the part where Sanji tries to get in the Brachio tank with the rest of the crew. But it's all full. You see Carrot, Nami, Shinobu, Usopp, and Chopper. They're all in the crew. Sanji tries to get Usopp out of the tank. But, being the crew's sharpshooter, he's the guy that's going to remain in the tank. If anything, he should have tried to pull out Shinobu. So what happens next? Frankie asks Robin whether she wants to get on the back. Brooke gets on the back instead, and they drive away. I was like, okay, that's cool. Anyway, Frankie says he's gonna meet up with Chopper at the back of the island. So Chopper's gonna go in his Brachio tank. Frankie's gonna go in his Black Rhino kind of motorbike. That's where they're gonna meet up. So Robin is left with Jinbei. She's like, no, I'm not getting on top of the tank. It's gonna be too dusty. And Jinbei here is kind of showing her his maturity. He's just like, yeah, when I like how lively the crew are. When everyone else is worked up, thinking about the fight and all that, diving into the fight, we're gonna need people who are gonna be calmly observing the state of the battle. I think he's referring more to himself here, more to Robin as well, over the energetic crew, over the aggressive pirates that Kid is captain of. What are they even called actually? Are they the Kid Pirates? I've forgotten what they're called, but that doesn't seem to ring a bell so much. But anyway, Robin's impressed by his point of view, and the key point here is there's something behind Robin and Jinbei. There's a rustle behind Robin and Jinbei, and as you know, by the end of this chapter, Kaido has summoned the Tobi Roppo to go and bring back Yamato, who's his kid. We don't know the age. I'm quite confused as to the language. We'll get to that later. But this could be Yamato. It could be someone else. I'm not quite sure who the person is that's rustling behind Robin and Jinbei. People were going apeshit about Robin's outfit. I was like, cool. It's like Nami's outfit. I'm just like, it's all right, but it didn't need to be so skimpy. These guys are about to go into war. I understand they're going undercover, but are all the other ladies in Kaido's crew dressed like that? I'm not sure if it was just like, they're just being a little bit like, let's make them look skimpy. I didn't see the point in it. I was like, okay, I get this is a shonen, but do we need that? Anyway, the next scene I really like. So it's the Tobi Roppo again, but this time they're in front of Kaido. Kaido's shown himself to them, and he's just like, all right, cool. Nice to see you all. We have Urti. She's just there like, she is very, very brash, and her younger brother, who it was referred to last chapter as younger brother, Page 1. And I still fully believe that Page 1 is her biological younger brother. Just also by their size. You see Black Maria, she's absolutely huge. I think Who's Who and Sasaki, who are also very tall, only come up to like her upper thigh. She is massive, and her kimono looks amazing, by the way. Like, just from a design perspective, all of the Tobi Roppo, I think their designs are amazing, but her kimono looks quite nice. I like it, the flowery design, stuff like that. Anyway, Page 1 is very, very, he does not like how brash his sister is. She's there saying, oh, it's an honor to see you, it's been so long. And then she's throughout the chapter, she's like, come on, get it together already. And she's like, we're dealing with your family problems again. So she's calling out Kaido all the way through, and Kaido seems to be actually a very understanding captain here. While he's sober, he's just like, yeah, he keeps saying, I know, it wasn't me that summoned you, don't be angry with me. And then later on, when she's like, it's a family problem, he's like, yeah, I know, it's a family problem. He seems to be very understanding, and from what we've seen of Kaido so far, I didn't think he'd be that guy, but he also knows how to manipulate and control his crew, especially the Tobi Roppo. So essentially what this gathering is he's just letting them know. He's like, all right, I've gathered you together. I was gonna introduce you to Lin Lin. She seems to still be getting herself into the kimono and stuff that she's been getting herself into for like 2-3 chapters now. I'm like, really? Does it take that long to get a kimono on? I've never worn a kimono. I don't know. Anyway, Kaido's like, while we've been carrying on, something's come up. That's why you've been forced to wait here. But it wasn't me who summoned you. Don't be angry at me. He's responding to Urti here. It was actually King who summoned them. And King's like, yeah, I summoned you guys. The reason why we made it look like Kaido summoned you is because if I actually summoned you, if you knew that I summoned you, who's who, Sasaki, you guys wouldn't have popped up, right? And Sasaki's just there like, yeah, actually, I wouldn't have popped up. I wouldn't have I wouldn't have responded to your call. So King actually makes mention here, and this adds a little bit more flavor to Tobi Roppo. Not something that's taken us like completely left field. But he makes mention in regard to who's who and Sasaki specifically. I think he's like, who's who, Sasaki. You guys wouldn't have come if it was me that had summoned you, or if you'd known that it was me who had summoned you. And you guys were formerly captains of your own pirate crews. I know that you're angling for a spot among the lead performers. So here for me, it looks almost like King isn't referring to each of the Tobi Roppo individually. He seems to specifically be saying, who's who, Sasaki. You two were once captains of your own pirate crews. He could be referring to the Tobi Roppo in general. You were all captains of your pirate crews. But considering the context, who's who, Sasaki, you two wouldn't have responded. And then he goes on to say, you were formerly captains of your own pirate crews. I think he's referring to them to specifically saying that they were the two captains. The rest of them possibly weren't. The rest of them were either recruited via other means. Kaido probably fought them or something like that. They were either single pirates or something like that, just going along the Grand Line doing their own thing, or maybe they've been part of the crew longer than most other people have. Anyway, who's who and Sasaki are like, yeah, I mean, like this crew's a meritocracy, which is everyone is ranked by their skills. So that's what they're looking for. They're looking to take down the lead performers and take their position because they're better than them. So basically everything's to do with skill, everything's to do with your own performance. So it kind of leads into the lead performer kind of thing. Anyway, Kaido's just there trying to keep everything under wraps. He's like, all right, stop trying to fight each other. King actually summoned them to deal with Kaido's problem. So Kaido here he seems to be very organized as well. It looks very weird because Kaido, we know him as this drunkard, this guy that's trying to commit suicide, but he seems to be quite rational. He seems to be, he seems to have a good control of his crew. You know, none of these guys are actually fully acting up in front of him. Even though Ortiz is kind of brash and brazen enough to say it to his face, she doesn't outwardly reject his captaincy or kind of anything like that. So Kaido then calls upon someone called Bao Hung, who is this little girl with the flying squirrel smile fruit, and she seems to be the person that holds Kaido's kind of schedule, his calendar. She knows what's going down in his day. When he doesn't know, apparently his day is usually full of so much shit. He needs someone like this. So she flies down from the ceiling. She's like, all right, this is our schedule for today. Queen is emceeing. The three lead performers in Fukuroku will be holding a toast, no doubt. Just, a kanpai. Yeah, good job. We've been succeeding as a unit. And then the Shogun, Orochi, and Kaido will give a speech, no doubt, talking about their performance and how well they've done as a unit. And then they're going to wait for Big Mom's pirate ship to roll up, where Kaido and Big Mom will jointly announce the world's strongest pirate alliance. So they're going to announce their partnership. And following that, Kaido is going to announce a very important announcement. So she doesn't say what it is. Kaido doesn't actually say what it is. And Urti's like, oh, it's, I don't like that you're playing coy. Tell us. And he's just there like, yeah, I know. Once again, he seems to be very understanding of his own behaviors. He's like, yeah, I know I'm being a little bit secretive here, but it wouldn't make sense if I let everybody else know prior to the end of all of our conversations, so I'm going to keep it at the end. Once again, I like the design of the flying squirrel girl, Bao Hung. She seems to have this huge fan with some Japanese lettering. I'm not quite sure what it says. Her kimono, again, looks really nice, flowing. It's shorter. I'm not sure if that's a thing. Someone educate me on, because I've been following anime manga for a long time now. But there is a difference in kind of the kimono length. You see, Black Maria, her kimono is all the way down to her basically it flows beyond her ankles, I think, and maybe even drags along the ground. And then you have someone like Bao Hung, and I see this usually in the younger girls. So I think Otama had a shorter kimono as well, and it seems to ride up the closer towards her mid thigh. Anyway, Kaido is then prepared to say to the Tobi Roppo, he's like, all right, the reason why we need you here and why King summoned you is so that you can find and bring back my idiot son Yamato, suggesting that this has something to do with his announcement, which is what I think Black Maria actually makes mention of, she's like, oh, I take it that your announcement has something to do with young Master Yamato. And he's like, yeah, that's correct. So, regarding the age of Yamato, Kaido says here, my idiot son Yamato disappeared earlier today. And I feel like that's a really harsh statement for me to make if his child is below like the age of 10. You wouldn't call your child an idiot son unless he had some sort of element of, he's only an idiot if he knows he's being an idiot, or if he's of an age where his reasoning and his logic should be beyond that. So I feel like the idiot son Yamato part, when Kaido addresses him as an idiot son, suggests he's older. But then Black Maria is like, I take it your announcement involves young Master Yamato. Young Master is kind of something like, Momonosuke age. That's the type of age that brings to my mind. So I'm like, ooh, that threw a spanner in the works. How old is he? Is he an idiot son who should be able to think for himself, or is he a young master and Kaido's just really, really harsh? Seeing what we've seen of Kaido so far in his sober state, it doesn't seem like he'd be that guy. Another point to make here is in relation to that kind of age range is Black Maria. She's smiling when Kaido makes mention of, this is the reason why you guys are here, to go bring back Yamato and go find him. She says that sounds like a formidable task. Now she's smiling when she says that. Either she's being really sarcastic or she sees that as a formidable task. I kind of, if it was a child, once again, I see that as, oh, that's a formidable task, but if it's an idiot son, she might actually be telling the truth. Like, oh shit, that's a bit of a formidable task. I can see why you summoned all 6 of us. He's going to be a bit of an issue coming back. Or it's going to be a bit of an issue bringing him back. So really, Black Maria and Kaido's limited interaction here gives us a little bit of an insight into what could go either way. He could be a young child, or he could be someone in his 20s. But it feels like almost Black Maria is suggesting that he's younger than her. We don't know what her age is, but would she? I suppose she would still refer to him as young master, even if he was young, even if he was older than her. Technically speaking, he's the young master. He's the heir to the throne. That's what they would refer to him as. It's just, I'm not too sure which way this chapter's going. Uruti, once again, like I said, she shouts at Kaido. She's like, oh, it's your stupid family problems again. But Kaido sweetens the deal here. He's like, all right. Sasaki, who's who, they're both concerned. Like, what happens if we bring him back safely? It seems like Kaido has to almost pay the Tobi Roppo. It's not enough that they're part of his crew. He has to sweeten the deal. He has to say, all right, cool. If you guys bring back my son, if you bring back Yamato, I'll give you all the right to directly challenge any lead performer of your choosing. How about that? So they can go and fight either Jack, Queen, or King. Any of their choices that they make, they can say, yeah, I choose King and I'm gonna kick his ass. It's their choice. But I'm not sure if Kaido's extending this to, if one of you brings back Yamato, you're the one that gets to fight against any of the lead performers, or if he's saying, if one of you brings him back, then all of you get the right to fight the lead performers. It must be like either Sasaki or who's who said earlier. This is a meritocracy. It's got to be whoever himself or herself is responsible for bringing back Yamato. He or she will be given the right to fight either King, Jack, or Kaido. And you see who's who here actually a little bit motivated. He's like, all right, cool. That's what I'm going to do. So then we go into the last scene, which is really, it doesn't really add too much to the chapter. You see Luffy going into the party where Queen is emceeing, and he's looking for Eustace Kid. He's looking for Kid and Killer and all those guys, and he can't find them. He's just like, all right, cool. Like I've lost them. I don't know where they are. So one of Kaido's crew, they look at Luffy and they're like, hey, haven't we seen you from somewhere? But he seems to be mightily drunk. And then suddenly a whole canister of like red bean paste with some Oshiroko in it drops on Luffy's head. And what Luffy then witnesses is Kaido's crew just wasting a whole bunch of food. They're throwing some like Oshiroko red bean soup all over the ground. And Luffy is watching this and he's just thinking back to Otama, I think it is. Yeah, it is Otama. And I think she was given some Oshiroko by someone. I've forgotten who it was. And she was crying and stuff like that because of how good it was, and she was happy because of how much food and how nice the food was on her birthday. And she was like, I'm never gonna get something like this again. So once again, that's something that Luffy's just like, this is pissing me right off. And you see him turn around in anger. So once again, you see the kind of two sides of Luffy. Someone mentioned this on Reddit. Sorry, I've forgotten your name, but he mentioned the kind of two sides of Luffy here. Luffy's gone. He's gone in after Kid to try and rein him back in, saying, "Oh, I don't want. From what we know of Odin now, I don't want that to fail. Odin had tried too hard, and the Akazaya 9 have seen too much for this to fail now. We have to follow the plan." So Luffy went in to kind of rein him in and not cause any havoc, not ruin the plan. But on the other hand, Luffy sees all this waste of food. He's thinking back to Otama and the promise he made her and stuff like that about I think it was something to do with the abundance of food. You're never going to go hungry again, I think it was. So he sees all of that and he's just like, that's really bringing his nuts to a boil. So I think Luffy's going to control himself here. I really doubt he's gonna decide to go full apeshit in the presence of Queen and in the presence of the entire army of both Orochi and Kaido. He really needs to hold himself back here. If he doesn't, it would be a little bit remiss of me to then not say this is going down a bit of a bullshit path. Luffy needs to conceal his identity here and kind of rein himself in before they actually start clapping cheeks. Let me know what you guys thought of this chapter. Let me know what you guys thought of this review. Like, comment, subscribe, all of that good stuff, and I'll see you guys in a bit.